Well, hello everybody. It is Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern. This is Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and I am hoping that I've got some folks who are interested in seeing what we can do with some Mary Moose. Let me move some stuff out the way because I can see it in my screen and that's bugging me. And then we're going to check and see if we're transmitting. So I'm just checking offline off to the side here. I was sitting here 2 seconds ago thinking, here I am already early, and then I looked and I was like, you're going to need to have your computer, goofus. All right, there we go. Hey, Roz. Hi, Mary. Glad you could join me this evening. I hope you're having a good weekend. Hi, Linda. Hi, Karen. Hope things are going good up in New Jersey and that you weren't in the way of all of the big flooding. Hi, Peggy, Patricia, Marianne. Appreciate y'all joining and spending a little time with me tonight in the middle of your weekend. You still liking Saturdays? I'm still liking Saturdays. Even being retired, I'm still liking Saturdays. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining. Hi, Pam. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Karen. Hi, Jean. How was my first week of retirement? You know, it was really good. It was a little bit odd because I kept... we went out a couple of times, to just do various things, and I kept thinking, why are there so many people out on the road, because it's the weekend. And then I realized, no, it's not the weekend, it's the work week, and there are still people who have to go to work even if I don't. So it was nice. It was actually quite a bit less stressful than it had been in the past weeks. So hey, Alicia. Hey, Wendy. I think I'm gonna like it plenty good, Peggy. It's interesting. I'm busy trying to get the balance between spending the whole day doing Stampin' Up! Business and balancing that with the things I want to do with Finn and the things I want to do around here. We spent the last week getting our little Honda Civic ready to sell, and getting it out where it could be seen and hopefully sold. I think we did get it sold. So, so it's been really good. Glad that you are safe, Karen. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, Jenna, sorry, I didn't mean to butcher that. Don't be jealous. It'll happen as quicker than you know. All of a sudden, you're gonna look up and boom, it is gonna be retirement time. All right, let us go ahead and get started. This is the card that I gave you the sneak peek of this morning. It's actually got several little brand new things on it that are coming in the catalog. If you're one of my customers, you should have a new catalog already. If you thought you should get a catalog and you haven't, please let me know, and I will double check to see if you were on my list, and if you were, we'll see if we can't track that. So let's talk about a couple of the things that are in this new card. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Julie. Thanks. I love this moose too. When I first saw the moose and the punch that goes with it, I was like, oh yes, you've got to be kidding me. But there's a couple of things, so let's take a look. First off, we have the Mary Moose stamp set, which is this. And you can see it's got several nice little sentiments, and I love these trees. The tree images are perfect. I love that you can get some instant depth just by using these two together, just because this is smaller, duh. I didn't use the fill image on this card. I used Stampin' Blends, but you certainly could use the fill image if you wanted to. That's kind of fun. Let me get my blends now that I think about that. All right, and then it's of course got the moose punch, which punches out the moose. That's why it's called the moose punch. But then there's a couple other things I used. I've got some of the wrapped in plaid paper in the cherry cobbler and shaded spruce with just a little line of gold through it. And then we have the basic decorative masks. And one of the four patterns in these masks is this great trees. And so I used that on here just, because I could. And then we have what is probably the coolest thing ever are the holiday rhinestone jewels. And these are in, let's see, crushed curry, cherry cobbler, shaded spruce, pool party, I believe, and maybe blueberry bushel. Hang on, I'll tell you those exact names here in just a half a second. Sorry, cherry cobbler, coastal cabana, night of navy, pumpkin pie, and shaded spruce. So I was 1 for 5. But they're really cool. They come in 3 different sizes, hard to tell. Kind of a large one, a medium size, and then a bunch of the smaller ones, which is great. I love smaller jewels. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Kathy. Glad you could join. Yeah, Tanya, you might as well just give it up. This mousse is going to grow on you. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? And we can yak as we are creating. Now, all of the card cuts will be on tomorrow's blog. Oh, I've also used a little of the new Golden Glitz Delicata ink, metallic ink. You know, that comes in 3 colors: gold, celestial copper, and shimmery, silvery shimmer. So we're going to use the gold today. All right. Okay, that's enough yakking. Get going. Get going. Get going. Okay, so I've already done a little bit of cutting, because why do you need to watch me cut? I've got a crumb cake card base, basic 4 1/4 by 11. And then I have 2 stitched shape squares. These are both the largest of the stitched shapes squares. Boy, that's hard to say 3 times. Then I have a rectangle stitch die. This is the smallest and narrowest one, and that's going to be our sentiment. I got a couple of mats in cherry cobbler. I've got a little bit of Very Vanilla for the card front and the inner liner, and then of course I have an envelope and some more paper for that. So first of all, let us make a background, shall we? All right. Yeah, if you are Canadian, I think it's like a requirement. I'm pretty certain it's like a requirement. Okay, now we're going to start by making our background, and I'm only putting this on this silicone mat just because the metallic ink takes a minute to dry, and I want it off of my work surface because in my normal day-to-day, I'm kind of a piggy slob. All right, so I'm going to do this the easy hard way, where I just lay the mask, over top of my piece of cardstock, which means, am I in screen? Let's make sure I'm in screen real good. There we go. Which means I need to hold on to it a little bit. So I'm going to do some really technical holding, and I'm just taking a sponge wedge and I'm going to pounce, and this is crumb cake. So I'm starting to get my background started by pouncing with my sponge in crumb cake. Okay, and I'm just going to hold it. Yes, I could do all of the hold it down with some tape and all that other stuff, and you can certainly do that, but for expedience sake and speed, I'm going to hold it down and use the old hope plan. You know that? The I hope it works plan? If it doesn't, I guess we'll know that hope is not a valid plan, which we always tried to tell people at work. Hope is not a good enough plan. Just saying. All right, we're just going to do this. We're not putting a whole bunch of ink, but we're going to get enough to get that idea of a forest here. I'm kind of a fan of masks. I'm going to say I'm not a huge fan of the embossing paste, but I think that's because I just haven't used it a lot. So maybe I'll be able to do a little better job using it with these masks. I've got a little piece of fuzz or something right there, and I'm going to get rid of it. I think it's going to be covered, but it's bothering me. It's bothering me. Get over there. Get. It's not getting. It's being obtuse. Have you ever heard the saying, the perversity of an inanimate object? Well, that's what it's doing. Okay. So I'll just make sure my mask is back where I wanted it, and I'm going to do a quick lift. I think that's still going to be okay. We're going to make it okay. All right, so I've got it with the crumb cake started. And now I'm going to put the crumb cake away. Mary, I have had days like that myself. I'm probably not even going to tell you how many times I had to make that mousse before I got it how I wanted it. Okay, now I'm going to take the Gold Glitz ink. I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure my mask is still in place. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of gold to my trees. And you can do this or not. If you're not a fan of gold and shimmery, then don't do this. It would be just fine with just the crumb cake, but I kind of liked the gold because it matches the little line of gold in my DSP that I chose. And speaking of DSP, I am really loving that plaid. It was the hardest part of this card was deciding whether to go with the red plaid or with one of the blue and green plaids. This card would be awesome with any of them though, so if you want to make it with one of the other pretty plaids, definitely do that. Okay, now we're going to call that good. So I really didn't want a ton of gold. Let me pick this up and get it out of the way right quick because it is a treasure trove right now of wet gold ink. Man, I have just got a mess going on here. Let me see if I can blow that off. Nope. Okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit of judicious covering. Now, one thing to note is the metallic ink does take a hot second to dry. Yes, Mary, that's exactly correct. It does take a second to dry. So you can either set it aside or you can give it a little blast with the low setting of your heat tool. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna set it aside while we make the trees. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm going to set that aside. Now, on my largest piece of, not my largest piece, one of my pieces of very vanilla, I'm going to take the tree image, the large tree image in Mary Moose, and we're going to stamp it twice in shaded spruce. If I do it over the one I did earlier, no. The early sample is completely dry and there's no ink. There's no gold coming off, Mary. So once it's dry, it's there. All right. So I'm going to use the large image. I'm going to stamp this tree twice, and then I'm going to get ink all over my finger and make sure I get that off, or I will have ink going every which way from Sunday. And that isn't any good. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that, right? Okay. Okay, we'll just stamp him twice. Re-inking between each one. And we'll just offset it a little bit. We're going to create the depth, though, by using the smaller thing. Old gold and silver still came off on my fingers. 7. Yeah, I'm not seeing that as a problem with this one, Mary. It seems to be working okay. All right, with this smaller tree, I'm going to stamp it off once, and then I'm just going to kind of put it in the gaps there. Go. And then I'm going to wipe off my silicone mat. Okay, put away the shaded spruce for a second. Clean off my larger stamp. Okay, and then we're going to take that same gold ink and stamp right over the top of those trees. Again, if you don't want that, don't do it. If that doesn't appeal to you, don't do it. I'm going to pull it to me just a little bit, and my head may be getting in the way. I'm so sorry. But I want to get this sort of like over the top of that image if I can. Okay. And we'll ink it again and do the second large tree. And I only did the 2 big trees, not the smaller ones. Okay. Now we're going to set him aside to dry. Because yes, it's going to take a second. Alrighty. Now, let's make us a moose. Let's make us a moose. Let's do a moose. Shall we do a moose? Anyone want to do a moose? Does anybody know why I'm talking like this? I have no idea. I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't know. Wipe this off. So the only downside of the silicone mat is it really doesn't encourage the drying of ink. And it really, really doesn't encourage the drying of the metallic. Now, yes, it is true, somewhere in my craft room, I have another silicone mat. One might think I might know where it is. One would be wrong. One would be completely wrong. I have no idea where it is. All right. Here comes Bullwinkle. Hey, friend. Also correct, Roz. I am silly. Okay. We're going to do Mr. Moose as opposed to Mr. Reindeer, who's a completely different individual entirely. I'm going to do him in some Tuxedo Black Memento ink because we are using our blends. Give this a little, you know, this. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm retired. It could still be that. It could be, Kathy. Now I'm going to take my crumb cake blends, and I'm actually going to use the smaller end of the light blend to just lay a little color into the legs of Mr. Reindeer. He's not a reindeer. He's a moose. I've got Mr. Reindeer on the brain. Yes. So you guys will read tomorrow that Mr. Finney was not feeling great today. And I know this because he got me out of bed 2 times last night, which is crazy. Once that dog goes to bed, he's pretty much in bed, as I think you've become aware over the years now of knowing him. He's a bed boy. He likes to go to bed, and when he goes to bed, he's done. But last night, he got me up in the middle of the night, desperate to go outside. And I do mean desperate, like leaping and bounding in his kennel and then galloping like a fool to the door and then racing outside as soon as I opened it. And then he did it again at 5 in the morning. He doesn't know that I'm retired and don't have to get up at 5. All right, I'm just doing, you know, my usual really, really awesome job of coloring, which is to say not so much. But I was trying to get it to look like he was kind of a fat moose going into the winter. He's all ready for winter. And I'm just doing light, trying not to get too close to the edges. That was why I did it so many times. It kept bleeding more than I could stand. And it really, really annoyed me quite a bit. Quite a bit, actually. I might have thought some bad words. Not gonna say that I said them, but I might have said them. So anyway, he got me up, and I was watching this morning pretty close, and sure enough, it was pretty obvious that the guy had a stomach ache for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know that he got into anything, but you know, dogs, it's what they do. So I cooked him some chicken and rice. Just so you know, Pepto-Bismol, while it says it tastes like peppermint, rather obviously from the look on his face when I put it down his little throat this morning, does not taste like peppermint, not even close. Just saying. He was not a happy camper. Hey, Eunice. I'm glad your bread is in the oven. Please feel free to bring me some. I can't have bread. Really, I can't have bread, but I love bread, especially fresh bread. All right, let's see. This is granite gray. I decided that moose antlers were probably granite gray. That's what I decided. And so that's what they are. And I'm just coloring with the light one on the inside, and then I'm just gonna barely touch the edges with the dark one. I just want to get a little bit of movement in them so they don't look completely flat. That sounded so artistic when I said it like that. Yeah, it totally sounded totally artistic. Okay, there we go. That is good enough. Now, let's get the bestest ever fun thing out. That's right, Karen. It's my moose, and he can be whatever color I want him to be. Can you imagine what a pain in the hindquarters, even for a person who likes to fussy cut? Can you imagine what a pain this would be? So we're not even going to imagine it because it's too awful. We're just going to punch his little self right out. Now, we are going to do a little bit of fussy cutting because I want to make the little scarf. A little scarf. And the little scarf doesn't have a oh, there he is. Whew. I was afraid I'd lost the little scarf. All right, we're gonna do a scarf in yeah, Jerry, that's right. That's the nice thing about a dog that sleeps all night. If they don't sleep all night, you best be paying attention because something is afoot. Okay, I'm just doing this little scarf in shaded spruce. And then we're gonna do a quick fussy cut of that. Now, even Amy has been fussy cutting this week. I don't know what has gotten into her. Either or aliens have abducted the real Amy. I'm not really sure. Because normally you couldn't get her to fussy cut with a crowbar. But this is a pretty easy fussy cut. And so I encourage you to make him a little scarf. Would have been fun if they had put scarf on the punch, but they did not. Probably because it's a totally easy fussy cut. This reminds me of the most that was in that Christmas. Oh yes, yeah, that was very cute. And you are right, it does kind of look like that. Have you seen the new catalog? If you've seen the new catalog, there's a fun little stamp set called Birds of a Feather. And it covers Halloween, Christmas, maybe Valentine's Day. Maybe, I think. And it has birds that if you look at them, you will recognize their little selves. Okay, the only hard part about this fussy cut is this last one because it's off of my hand in the wrong direction. For those of you who are lefties, I understand this is how you always have to do, so bear with me complaining. Okay, let's move that out the way. Now we have one little scarf all ready to go. And let's go ahead and get us a sentiment going, and then we'll be ready to assemblate our card. Now, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and I did it in Cherry Cobbler. Cherry Cobbler. You hope you get your catalog or your stamp set, Peggy. Not sure. All right, so we're just going to ink this up. Now, I am going to cheat this sentiment to the right side of my sentiment banner because it's going to be a little bit covered up. And I'm just kind of centering it a little bit, top to bottom. And it does overlap the stitches a little bit, but I don't care. I think it looks kind of cool like that. Okay, now we've got all of our pieces and parts. So let's double check that we're dry here. Yeah, I'm going to give this another little bump. Was that a dare, Mary, to make my scarf plaid? Because if it was, game on. I can do it. I can do it. All right, and let's dry our trees here. Also, just to be sure. This may be an overabundance of caution, but I hate to have to go back and re-stamp just because I got anxious. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. All right. I'm glad you got your catalog, Kathy. Oh, speaking of lists and checking them twice, I've been busy the last day or two doing a little personal shopping for you guys. And as has become my normal, I am putting together some special bundles for you. Expect to see those on Monday. That will be my blog post on Monday. I have come up with 10 bundles that I think you will like, and they will all get you 10 or so, maybe a little more % savings. So be watching for that. I know that some of you are pretty routine purveyors, buyers, customers for those bundles, so I hope you've been waiting and hope you knew I would do them. All right, there we go. So I've just used a little liquid glue to put that on the card to mat the card front, sorry. And now I'm going to take my plaid right here. You have been waiting. Yay, Kathy! You would paper piece the scarf with, oh, Tanya. Oh, that's such a good idea. I'm doing that. Okay. I'm going to do that. That was such a good idea. Thank you. All right, let's do this first before I lose it completely. We're just putting that on to start. And then we'll put our trees on over the top. Like this. And it's going to go straightish. We want it to be straightish. As straight as my calibrated eyeball will do. All right, we'll hold that for just a second. And I got to do that before I forget. I will forget because that's what I do, is forget stuff. All right, let me get a little bit of this plaid. We'll set that aside. For those of you who didn't, you know why that's not, it'll work. Hang on just a second. No, you know why that may not be good? Let's see how it looks. Hang on just a second. Hey, Faith. Here's the card. There's the card. That's the card that we're working on, Faith. I'm going to try this and see how it looks. The problem is this is a solid image and piecing tends to work better. Yeah, no, I don't really like how that looks. No, boy, wouldn't that be fun if that was a... Yeah, that's not working for me. Nope. Good idea. Good thought. But it's not going to work on this card. Maybe another one. It's too bad that wasn't an outline, huh? That would have been fun. Oh, man. Okay. Now I'm going to take the piece of burlap trim that I very carefully cut before you came. And I put it here very carefully, ever so carefully. Where are you? Well, I'll be hornswoggled. You know it'll show up as soon as I hit end video. Anybody see it? No, I don't see it either. Darn it. Okay, that's okay. I have the technology. We're just going to cut a piece of the 5/8 inch burlap trim ribbon. Some ribbon. Like that. And then use a few glue dots. I could cut one out, then trace it on the plaid. I could do that too. I'm sorry, is this during your dinner time? I'm sorry, Mary. All right, we're going to use a few glue dots to adhere this to the card front. Okay. Or I'll use them to adhere my fingers to the card front. It's hard to say which one will happen quicker. There we go. Okay, and then we'll take a little more of the liquid glue. Yeah, an outline stamp would have been perfect. Tracing it on there would actually also work. I might do that on another card. So I'm just taking some liquid glue and adhering that to the ribbon as straight as I can make it. And I'm kind of giving it a little smush so that that glue goes down into the ribbon and helps everything stay solid, real solid. Okay. Now you know I'm going to use some dimensionals here. I got to use some dimensionals here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mini dimensional under his little antlers. His little antlers, like this. There goes little antler. Okay, and we'll take those covers off. Shoot, now all I can think about is that scarf. Karen, my technique for placing a ribbon is luck. It's luck, pure luck. It's just pure luck, I tells you. All right, so let's put Mr. Moose on there. Like that. And now all that is left to do is to put his little scarf on with a little more glue. A little more glue. Doesn't he look so dapper? And there's even a little Santa hat if you were down with wanting to play with a Santa hat. And I looked at it, I cut one out, but I didn't even like it. It didn't look good on him on this card. I think it would look great on another card. And you may see him with a Santa hat in the future. Now, I decided to use shaded spruce. Could also have used cherry cobbler, but I'm going to use the shaded spruce, and I'm using little ones. Come on. And I'm putting them up in this corner because that was, I played with the freshly made sketches. Some of you may recognize this design. And so that's what I did on here. That's 3. Here's 4. And I'm going to say that I need an odd number. And I'm going to put one right here. There. Because I decided I liked it. All right, so there's the card front. Dunske. Dunske, I says to you. It is Dunske. All right, now on the inside, we'll put a second sentiment from Mary Moose. Where are you, sentiments? Where? I wondered. I know, everybody's thinking about how to make the scarf in plaid, and I fully expect to see some scarves in plaid. And then this one says, enjoy the stillness of the season, and I like that, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, here it is. I've come to the conclusion, because I'm really smart like that, that if I could have a 25,000 square foot craft room, I would still not be able to do it. I would still have a mess all the time. All the time. I would never be able to find anything like the ribbon that I cut, the trim I cut. All right, there's our sentiment. And we'll cut a few more, stamp a couple more trees. We'll start with a, thank you, Sue. I hope so. It's a little busy. They may not like how busy it is, but we'll see. So I'm going to just stamp the large image, and then we'll stamp the small image in Stamped Off Once, shaded spruce. Oh. There we go. And then there's this little tiny stamp in here. Where are you? There it is. That would be like ground. And so we're going to put a little bit of ground. Put a little bit of ground in Stamped Off Once Crumb Cake. Hey, Susan. All right, so I'm just going to stamp it off once and then just add it to the bottom of the card. And you know, if you did this in pool party or something like that, maybe some balmy blue, it would be snow. Easy peasy. Okay, there's the inside. Now, while I've got everything out and while I let that dry a second, and before I get my pad dirty with gold, let's do our envelope front. Large. Couple of smalls. Oh, big mess. Here, let's just push this aside for now. I'll figure out something to do with that. I knew that was going to happen. Y'all did too, didn't you? You've been looking at that ink on the side of this block and thinking, Mary, you're going to get ink everywhere. And look what I did. I done did it. I done did it. I done did it. All right, so there we go. Attempt. That's going to be covered with a return address. Let's go with that. All right. You know, there's days, my little horse, my little youngest horse, and actually her mother, they've been rubbing because it's itchy right now. The flies, no matter what I do, they're itchy. And so they have like sores on them. Just annoying sores that I'm quite certain bother me way more than they bother them. And I've been putting, there's a medicine for horses called Blue Lotion. And it's like Blackberry Bliss on steroids. And it's real thin and it has this dauber thing. And I tend to have it all over me most of the time, because if I don't get it on myself as I'm applying it, one of them puts their nose on it and then gives me a big kiss. And so then I have purple all over me, and it doesn't come out. It's about as hard to get out as Blackberry Bliss. So I seem to have trouble with colors. I'm having trouble with colors, and I'm wearing them a lot, and I'm getting them all over the place. All right, and we're just gonna top this with some gold because I'm having fun with the gold. We'll set that aside and do our inner liner. And you know, you could also just do the tree in just gold. You might even try that. You might like that too. Just gold. All right, let's set that aside. Put a little ground on this because you got to have ground. No tree looks good with no ground. That's just not even a thing. Trees with no ground, that's not a thing. There we go. Okay. We'll set him aside. Close up all of our Inca pads. I stamp on the bottom left of envelopes. I have never had one person at the post office ever say a thing to me about where I've stamped. Sometimes I stamp on the left side, sometimes I stamp on the right side. Mostly, for some reason, I stamp on the right side. Maybe it's because I'm right-handed, I don't know. Occasionally, depending on what I've put on the inside of my card, I will actually stamp on the left side of the envelope. But like I said, I've never had anybody say anything to me. So I suppose you could find, there's always goofers that want to make a big deal about something. Amy was telling me that when she went to the post office to mail her catalogs, she paid extra to send it so that it would have first class tracking. So it was like twice as much to mail, right, as regular first class. But they weren't 3/4 of an inch thick, which according to the website is what they had to be. And so the lady at the post office was actually going to make her take all of her 200 catalogs and repostage them. I mean, how silly is that? We paid extra. Hello, extra. We should be getting a discount. You should be saying, oh, thank you for paying extra. But no. So there's always going to be somebody somewhere who has their own idea and their own agenda. Did you guys just see that dude killed himself? Sorry, that was total random association, and I have no idea why. What's his name? Epstein? They took him off of... They'd had him on suicide watch for, like, ever, because he tried it once before, and then for some reason today or yesterday they took him off, and, he killed himself. How convenient. I think he was helped. But I just thought that was very interesting. They mentioned last night that he was in jail on suicide watch, and then today, voila, he is dead. All right, crumb cake card base, and then we'll be done. Alrighty. I love crumb cake and cherry cobbler, and I like to have a green in there, and so Mossy Meadow is a always favorite with that little combination, but shaded spruce is really jumping the line for a favorite color for green. I'm going to say shaded spruce and Mossy Meadow are my favoriteest greens ever. Wait, I've got this out, so let's just go ahead and put our paper on. Every once in a while I try to be efficient. Mostly I don't try to be efficient because look at how cool that paper is on the other side with those shaded spruce pine cones. Okay, a little bit of an aside there. And we'll just put that on and give it a quick fussy cut. A fussy cut. See, now my theory is that little smudge that I did on the front, even though it's green, I could blame that on the post office. By the time it arrives somewhere, there is no telling what's happened to this card. It could be the post office. I'm absolutely willing to throw them under the bus for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Well, apparently he decided he wasn't going to do the time. And, or, there was only like 7,000 really powerful men who really didn't want him to go to court, I suspect, and start naming names. So he may have been helped to shed his mortal coil. No telling. A lot of the people who were bringing the accusations are not very happy with him because they feel like he once again, what did one lady say? That he thought he was above everybody else and still did. That was why he thought he could get away with not facing his peers. All right, and there we go. Parfait. What you think? I even think it's okay with the addition of the rhinestone to cover up my little boo-boo right there. I love this metallic ink. This is the first time since I've been a demonstrator that we've had the metallic ink, I think. Or we might have had it when I first came on, but I didn't use it very much. But I love that it's in copper and silver. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this whole catalog is going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Watch for my bundles. The shares are still open. And this is still the very, very best time to get the very, very best bundle going. Give me a holler if you're interested in taking advantage of the extra. All right, guys. We'll see you next weekend. Have a good week. Bye-bye.